Welcome to the Michele Roys Show.
Hello and welcome to another Michele Roys Show. I'm delighted to have a special guest, Louise Kelly. She's a keynote speaker and communicator who helps organizations, schools, and communities rethink human connection through the lens of music and the nervous system. Her work blends storytelling, science, and lived experience to show how sound shapes us from our earliest moments in the womb to the present modern adulthood, and how we can use it to regulate, communicate, and thrive. Louise, you're very welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for inviting me. It's a huge honor.
I'm delighted to have you here. Can you tell us where you are right now in this beautiful world?
I am on the north coast of Ireland, so I'm literally as far up that you can possibly go in this beautiful, excuse me, island. You
Great.
probably won't have heard of the town I live in. It's called Korean, but I'm sure a lot of your listeners will have heard of the Giant's Causeway
Absolutely.
or Bushmills whiskey. These are both worldwide things that I'm sure they'll recognize. So I'm a few miles from there.
That's great. You know, I was really impressed with your TEDx talk, and I said, I have to have you on my show. And I loved how you connected music. And I really want my listeners to be able to explore that with you today, you know. And I think one of the first things I would like to ask you, you know, in one sentence, what would you wish everyone understood about music and healing?
What I would wish more than anything, and it's my life's work, is that people understand that music, whilst it's enjoyable and it's entertaining, that it's more than that. It's biological,
Mm.
it's evolutionary, and it's human beings have used it since the beginning of time
Yeah.
for healing and for purpose.
Mm. Yeah. I really like that. It's so important. And I think, like you said, this is your life's work. What got you to start studying music? If you go
Yeah.
back to Louise.
Go back to Louise, the 7-year-old who I mentioned in the talk, who was handed the violin and found great comfort in it.
Yeah.
Kept playing it, never had it out of her hand, then moved on. Mother bought a piano. Nobody else in the house was interested. I played, went through the school, got my degree, went on. Knew I always wanted to do something in the caring field and also music. Had never
Mm.
heard of music therapy. And when I did, it was just a light bulb moment. This is
Okay.
what I want to do. And that was 28 years ago. And
Wow.
since then, I've been a clinical practitioner working through all age groups, from toddlers right through to elderly care.
Mm.
And it's been an absolute privilege, I have to say. Being a music therapist isn't perhaps something that you go into wanting to become a millionaire. It certainly isn't that. I personally, I describe it as a bit of a vocation, and it's an absolute privilege to do it.
Yeah. You have so much passion, even explaining here. I love to see it. You know, you really love music and how you're able to bring that joy to other people through music. It's beautiful. You know, in
Well,
the
thank
TEDx,
you.
in the TEDx, you're talking about
I
it.
just wanted to mention, because I live by in my work especially, but I suppose in my life too. Carl Jung was a psychoanalyst, and I have it on my wall, in one of the places I work, and he says, "Know all the theories, master all the techniques, but as you touch a human soul, be another human soul." And
Mm.
I just think that's gorgeous. I think that just explains, especially for me in music, just that's what I love by.
Yeah, yeah. In
Isn't
your
it
t
nice?
I think it's beautiful that we have to be humans, and music is a way of us connecting in a deeper sense, right, with each other. And part of my healing, I think I explained a little bit. I had found that music brought me so much joy, and it was something that I had literally turn down the volume in my life. And I wanted you to explain that to the listeners because that's part of your talk, and I'm definitely going to be having that on the show notes, your talk, so that people can listen to it. But
Uh-huh.
it really resonated with me because it's like, yeah, we do turn down the volume of music in our lives. So can you explain that a little bit, please?
I certainly can. So if we think about how we use music from even pre-birth, there's a lot of research now about how helping pregnant mothers with their nervous system keep their blood pressures down and things like that. There's a lot of research done into babies being able to hear within inside the womb and how that helps them and regulates them. So we go from there, then we go to babies and how we communicate. And how do we communicate? We sing with them, we rock, we dance, it's all rhythm, and it's not talking, but it is communicating. And to me, it's the tonality of it, and children pick up on that. We go into toddlers, how it can help them in their self-development, their language development, their movement, their understanding of emotions. Going on up the scale, this sounds very much that I'm regurgitating my talk,
That's
but
okay.
we're going to teenagers and the huge impact that it has. And then let's skip the big part that we're going to talk about, but we go to elderly care and we understand the benefits of using it there. But then when we're adults, we're like, oh, yeah, we're too busy. No, I'm far too important. I'm far too serious. This stuff, oh, yeah, I'll play it on a Friday night, but no, it has no role in my life. And I'm like, of course it does. If only people knew like the power that it has in so many areas.
Yeah.
Mental health, trauma, neurodevelopmental, neurological, chronic pain. Something that you touch on, Michelle. It has so much value.
Yeah, that is so true.
Yeah.
And we turn it down.
We turn it down. Yeah. And that's what I'm going to keep banging the drum about. And the thing about it is, it's not that we have to be musicians to enjoy music. It's not that we have to have any skills. It's not that we have to spend money on it. It's one of these things that's inbuilt in us. And if we can just learn how to tap back into it and turn that volume back up and give it the space that it deserves, because we did it centuries ago. We used music for rituals and, for celebrations and for gatherings and how to express. And when we were working, we sang together, So where's all that gone?
Yeah, good question.
Yeah, that's one I think we all need to look at. Because it's very easy to say, well, it doesn't apply to me because I'm not a musician. But yes, it does, because we all are. We've all got heartbeats, and we're all moved by music.
Yeah.
So that's my take on it.
Yeah, for sure. And you're touching there because music is healing, and it's such a powerful way of healing, and it is part the rhythm that is in us. I love the fact that you're putting there about the heartbeat, because it's one of the first things that, we get as a mother, you get to hear that, and it just makes a complete emotional envelopment. I felt, when I hear my boy's heartbeat at the first time. It's awesome. It's just like
it's wonderful. And on that, so my work would be a mix of doing my clinical work, which would be in sessions. Then we would deliver some workshops and staff training, and then things, like my keynotes, whatever. But just yesterday, I was actually in a nursery school. And what I brought with me was this huge big drum. And of course, all the children wanted to bang it, and I gave them that opportunity. But what we did first was we sat around, we took wee groups of 4, and I started talking about beat and rhythm. And then we started going boom, 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 boom. And then I disappeared, and I brought out this big drum that had been hiding behind the shelf, and I was going boom, 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 boom. And their eyes were like, whoa. And then I set it down, and then we sat around it. And, initially you'd think, they're 4. They're not going to be able to do this. And they regulated and they settled in, and their little fingers were all around going, boom, 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 boom. And it was joyous. Of course, then, because they had done that so well, they were allowed to then
Rum it up.
The endorphins then went, woo! But it's just a lovely example that I thought on when you said, when we mentioned the heartbeat, because even at that age, they were able to connect, and maybe they didn't understand as such what I was talking about, but they felt it.
Yeah.
And they connected.
And they did it together, which is also really important.
Yeah.
Wow, that's
great. It's just
great.
lovely. Nice little example.
Oh, it's beautiful. When you think about music as healing, what are the three main ways that you feel that music can heal someone?
Oh, well, that's a tricky one, Michelle, because I can't think of three. I can think of 33.
Yeah.
We need another podcast just for this question alone. And this is where I just love pulling the bones out of it, but if I can condense it, maybe if I can do a few more than three, but kind of condense the areas.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. Because I think music has a big role in healing and emotional on an emotional level. So, and that by that I mean perhaps somebody who has had trauma or experiences trauma in some way or other, and as a result their nervous system's off kilter, and music is magnificent in that because it's healing power. It gives you the ability to feel safe. I think that's really important. It steps in, it's non-verbal, it's non-judgmental, and it allows somebody who has had this trauma to feel safe, heard, supported. And whether that be by improvising, an improvisation being supported by the therapist, or whether that be maybe songwriting and expressing through words what's happened. So I think from an emotional point of view, that's one. Another point of view that I think music's extremely healing in, and it's perhaps not the polar opposite, but it's definitely opposite, and it's a new-ish field in music therapy that I don't claim to know a lot about, but I'm very interested in, and it's called neurological music therapy. So the healing part of that is it works, it's in clinical centers and it's in neurorehabilitation. So if you think of somebody who has Parkinson's, so their body is feeling them. This is a wee bit more structured than perhaps the music sessions that I would have, because how they use it is they actually use structural musical exercises to retrain the brain, to literally rewire it, to help with movement and gait and posture and balance, all those things that are failing somebody with Parkinson's or somebody who's had a stroke or some sort of brain injury. This type of musical healing, it's tapping into the neural pathways in our brain, and it's kind of going past the prefrontal cortex, and it's kind of going right back to the depths of our brain, of our memory and our language and our movement, and it's literally rewiring. So to me, that's healing. So I suppose there's the physical, there's the emotional, and I suppose another way it heals is for people who, I was thinking about yourself, Michelle, and living with chronic pain, and I was thinking about the nervous system and how do you support that, and how do I explain how music supports that, because it is about healing. And I did look up a few things, and there is research about music helping support reducing the perception of pain, even be involved in that, and because it's engaging areas connected with emotion and cognition. So it's, I suppose in a way it's healing because it's acting as a distraction from the lived pain that you're having to experience. But also on the flip side of that, if you're listening to something that's upbeat and engaging and actually making you feel better, even when you're in a state of, your body's, you're fighting against it, it can release endorphins. it can give you the up regulation as well as the down regulation. And
Mm.
maybe it can help to relax when the pain's too much, or it can actually, when you're feeling fatigued or something else, actually re-energize.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like one of those things that there's nothing it can't do when
Exactly.
it's used right.
Yeah. I think for
And I mean,
me,
I could then mention about how it heals in Alzheimer's, and
mm,
because again, it goes straight through into the ears and straight into our memory. And our friend Marta, who was on the video, her demeanor, for anybody who hasn't saw it, her head was down, her body was slumped, her eyes were, dead. And
mm,
they put the earphones on and she just came alive. And her body, even the muscle memory and the what music did, even the actions were
mm,
identical to what she'd done on the stage
yeah.
30 years ago. It just blows my mind that something like this can be so powerful, and it's there for all of us to have.
Yeah, it's true.
I just love it. I think you can
Yeah.
tell.
No, absolutely, I can. And it brought me back the memory when my mom came to visit me a bit after I got diagnosed, and she just like, couldn't stand seeing me in bed the whole time, and just like room is dark, and I just like didn't want to move because the pain was just so overwhelming. And then she's like, you need to be listening to music. And I was like, I don't want to hear anything. Like, I don't want to hear it. But she
Mhm.
brought it back she like put some bossa nova, so I'm from Brazil originally. So like just those soothing rhythms, let's say, actually was easy for me to listen to, it wasn't so high.
Yeah.
And it just kind of like felt like something, it was like a spark inside of me. And that's where I was just saying back, oh my God, I actually love listening to music. It really does help me. Instead of having everything quiet and not, I didn't want any noise in the house. I started putting music, and it was funny to see that was Brazilian music, Latin music that
Yeah.
actually started helping me, and so much so that I ended up going back to dancing. And Latin music has been a part of my therapy to get healed. But if I'm having like bad days, music is the first thing that goes on.
I love that. And I love how it connected right back to somewhere in your psyche that felt, that's where it belonged, and you
Yeah.
brought it back. I love that. And I was mentioning like all those, I suppose, more clinical aspects of music. But I didn't even mention, the more holistic approaches,
Mm,
or the things like sound baths and drum circles
yeah.
and vibration therapy. Because when you said about, oh, I couldn't bear the sound, there's a lot of research now into just like vibration, or the hertz, and
Yeah.
of
Higher
music.
ones.
And
Yeah.
I mean, I put it on to get to sleep myself,
Yeah.
so it's fascinating, and I think we're moving towards understanding a bit more, but I think we just have to keep shifting in the direction, and keep banging the drum, for want of a better word.
But it
Pardon.
is because, like, I think, and I think it's so important when you're connecting back to your talk, that part of us putting down the volume of music in our own personal lives. And I think the listener should just stop and ask yourself right now, how much music do you listen to? And is it uplifting, or is it something that's dragging you down? Just think about those things, because it does affect us, and it could affect us to the good or also to the not the best. So to look at how we're using our energy and how we're listening to music, because I think it has such a powerful effect. And back to what you say there, Louise, from the beginning, centuries, millennium, they use
Millennium.
music. They will
Absolutely.
communicate with that, and they will be around the fire or whatever it was to have music for ceremonies, for all those different things. And it was a
Absolutely.
communication, right? It
Yeah.
was a way
Yeah.
of
Uh-huh. Yeah. And it brought people together, and it was, you say, it was shared. Music is human connection.
yeah.
Music, if there's one thing, I can't think of anything else that can connect, that has no barriers, no
Mm,
language, no gender barriers, no cultural barriers, no, it's universal.
yeah,
And
it is.
that's so amazing. You could go to any country, anywhere, and you might not speak a word of the language, but I guarantee you could connect through music,
Oh, so true.
isn't it?
I mean, I lived in India for a time, and that's one of the things, just the music would start, and here you
There
go.
we go.
Start.
Uh-huh.
I didn't know what they were saying, but that just felt, and your body just seems to automatically respond. Do you see that a lot as well? That people, when you're playing music or something, your body just reacts to it.
Oh, absolutely. And that's the thing. I can't sit still most of the time, but not a chance if any sort of music comes on. We were doing a recording earlier today, actually, and it was just for our website. And the guy who was on the camera said, "Can you stop tapping your foot?" And I hadn't even realized it. It's just something, and I can't help but sway. And that's a whole area of, I suppose, looking into somatic and how
Mm.
actually, music and somatic work, which again is another fascinating area. But yeah, it's all connected.
Yeah.
It goes in
Yeah.
here. I would say it goes in here, it lands here, it makes you think up here
Yeah.
and wants to make you move. So,
Absolutely.
aye.
Yeah, it totally envelops you. And I think it's such a beautiful and powerful experience to have as well. And like you said, it regulates your nervous system and it just helps even for me with pain. When I'm dancing, yeah, my body might be in so much pain, but it just like transcends that. And it's like I can't even express it because it just brings me to another level of consciousness that I'm like floating, literally floating. And it's pockets of time, Afterwards, I'll go back to my pain, but I just have so much, like I said, the endorphins are just there. I'm at oxytocin, I'm feeling
Yes.
woo alive, and I love it. And it's
And
really been
I,
part of my
I, I
healing.
get that. I totally get what you're saying. And I've had conversations with other musicians. Now, for me, it's not the moving, but
Mm,
it's the playing.
okay.
And there's something about when that fiddle is in my hand,
Mm,
I get what you're saying. It's otherworldly.
yeah, it is.
And when you're dancing with other people, as you say, or playing with other people, it's like being in this bubble. And in that moment, it's magical. It is. It's magical. And it's
Yeah.
lovely.
It is. It's a beautiful experience, and I
Mm.
definitely want to encourage more people to listen to this, and that's why I'm so happy to have you here on the podcast.
Oh,
Can
yeah.
you
Well,
explain a little bit for those who don't know, what does a musical therapist do?
what does a music therapist do? What I will tell you is what a music therapist does not do. Because
Okay.
this actually is probably much easier to begin with. What we do not do is we don't perform.
Mm.
So when a music therapist comes to do a session, we don't perform, we don't entertain. And what we do not do is we do not teach. Um, and I think that's very important to know, to get the distinction between what a music therapist is and what they're not, because there
Mm.
are music teachers and there are entertainers, and we could be those in different roles. But it's important to say that music therapists don't do that.
Mm.
Um, Beyond that, there are many branches of how people train in music therapy. So some people will train psychodynamically, some psychoanalytically, some person-centered, some the neurological music therapy, some attachment-based. So there's all different models that people kind of gravitate towards. But
Mhm.
what is, I suppose I can speak, is the same, is that you'll always have a familiar start and you'll always have a clear ending. Like
Mm.
I suppose, like a lot of even talking therapies, there is, and that's quite boundary. But what happens in between that is where the work is.
Okay.
Um, and listen, no two sessions are ever going to be the same. No two people are going to be the same. Even the
Mm.
person's coming on a weekly basis, it's not going to be the same, because a child coming into a session with me who's non-verbal, they might be having some issues one day, they're not going to be having them the next.
Mm.
But there might be a behavior that's happening or something that they can't voice. So what I will always say is, like Carl Jung, I meet them where they're at. So my
Mm.
work is very client centered. So
Okay.
meet you where you're at. Music therapists you can't do a timetable. I can't say today myself and Michele are going
I'm
to
gonna do
do
that.
A, B, and C, because Michele might come in and go, I'm not doing that. Michele might want to, so it's a lot about, especially in my work, letting the client lead, and there's a lot
Mm.
of improvisation that happens. So supporting through music,
Yeah.
If they want to engage vocally, you support back vocally. So there's a lot of connection that happens, but that's where I suppose it's hard to quantify or qualify or give you. I know that sounds like a bit of a no, I didn't answer the question, but it's like you and I having this conversation. When we meet again next week, we're not going to have the same conversation.
No, no. Yep.
So many things will have changed within that week, but a familiar start, a familiar end, and what happens in the middle is where the work is. I would say that's definitely what's happening within a music therapy session.
Yeah. And I think it's just very important for people to be aware of these different avenues they have for healing, for growth, for expansion, and that's why I was so keen on having you here as well, because I just loved how you incorporated this.
Yeah, and and again, if somebody was then perhaps thinking on, maybe wanting to get support from a music therapist, just like you would check out a talking therapist, a psychotherapist, whoever it is, they will all have the different modalities that they work in too. So it's important that if you're wanting to work psychodynamically or I work very, as I say, person-centered, make sure that you get the right therapist for you. Because otherwise it's the same as talking therapist. Again, it's all about connection. You need to get the right therapist before the work can happen. Like I might work with the child for a number of weeks before they'll even acknowledge I'm in the room.
Yeah.
And they're like, it's another thing. We leave our ego at the door, especially if you're working with non-verbal children who have zero interest in you and just want to, but at time and time, you sit, you wait, you allow, and they'll come. And that's simply about a game. One human in a room with another, and music being the connector, and it's beautiful.
Yeah. What do you say to people that say, "Oh, I'm not musically inclined," or I'm not musical at all? What do you say to those people?
I say, put your hand here, here,
Feel it.
and listen, because you've got a heartbeat. Yeah. I say, put your hand here, you've got a pulse. That's rhythm. Even our walking is in rhythm. This here, I always say, can you make a sound? If you can make a sound, you can make music. For too long. And I get it, the education system. I know personally, you can't sing, you can't be in the choir. Oh no, you're not getting an instrument. Oh, or people laughing at us because, maybe we had the best voice. And I get it. We shut down. And then, life gets busy. And so what I say is we're all musical. Listen, if you go in and cook your dinner tonight, you're not going to say, oh my goodness, I'm not a Michelin star chef, so I can't cook. Do you know?
Yeah, it's true.
You're going to go into a gym and go, oh, I'm not the PT. I didn't win an award. I can't train.
No.
So what's the difference with music? Okay, I don't play an instrument. No, I didn't learn an instrument. No, but I have got a voice and I have got a body and I have got ears. So there's the answer.
There you go. I love it. I love it. Yeah, we even said when we were in Brazil, my mom said like singing. Yeah, so like singing in the shower. Doesn't matter where you sing, just sing, let the music flow through it. That's the important thing. And just, beating to the drum or whatever it is. I think it's so important to bring that up again, turn on the volume of music in your own life so that you can be happy and connect. And there's so much strength in that, right? With music, with being community, because music draws us to other people, and instead of us being isolated. So I want to encourage other people to get out there.
Absolutely. And there is quite a big push now in choirs. I see a lot now of community choirs, rock choirs, rural choirs.
Okay.
My colleague works with a rural ladies choir, and they did interviews with them, and they love it. They went from lonely farmers' wives to having a sense of identity, a place to go, a place to connect, and they're loving it. Then these rock choirs. I'm actually, this past while I've re-engaged, I suppose, for want of a better word, with many years ago when I was at school, I would have played Irish traditional music.
Mm.
I was in the traditional group, and I had left that for many, many, many years. I've just sent an email to the local traditional group about coming back as a preliminary. Like, I'm not going to, again, but you're a therapist. You must be really good. No, no, I might be in the beginners group actually. Never mind the second, because just because we're in this line of work doesn't also mean that we think we know everything about it or we can do everything about it. And I want to do that because I feel, maybe I need a wee bit more of getting back into something that feels a bit more like a connection.
Yeah. Yeah.
So definitely, Michele, if we can encourage people, sing in the shower, sing in your car, join the choir, dance in the room, bang out those rhythms, join whatever it is you need to join. Just please don't not do it because you don't consider yourself musical. There's really no such thing. If you're human, you're musical.
That's it. That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Louise, we're coming towards the end. What would be a best way for people to get in touch with you?
Well, I do have a web page, myself and my colleague. That's our business. You could jump onto that. I'm on socials. So the web pages, our company's called Resilient Rhythms. And then my name, I think on my socials it's just simply my name. I'm on Instagram. I'm on Facebook. We're friends on them, Michele. So there's lots of different little bits and bops that I add about music, or some are fun, some are a bit more serious, some are information. They're generally about my joy of music and how it entertains me as well.
Yeah, no,
Doesn't
thank you so
always have
much.
to be serious.
I'll be adding those in the show notes as well. So please do get in touch with Louise. And do you have any parting words before you go?
Do you know what? There's a quote. Sounds like I do a lot of quotes, but again, and it's from a man. I actually wrote it down because I didn't want to forget to include this, and it's one of my favorite, and it's from a man called Henry Van Dyke, and he said, "The woods would be very silent if no birds sang except those that sang best." So I just want to say, please. Please don't stop because you don't feel good enough, whatever. Please allow your music to flourish and sing like those beautiful birds, because birds aren't going, oh, I don't sound good. They're just enjoying their sound.
Yes, that's beautiful. Wow, what an amazing way to close it. It's true. I do encourage everyone to, yes, tap into your music again. Let it be part of you and let it take you and help you in your journey, whatever you're facing. And do connect with Louise as well. And if this has helped you, please do forward it to somebody else. Leave your comments and shares. We'd love to hear from you. May God bless and keep you until next week. Bye for now.
This was the Michele Roys Show.